give it a minute for everyone to come in from the waiting room. Reminder, please mute yourself unless you are testifying before the board. Good afternoon. This is a hearing before the licensing board for the City of Boston. Today is Tuesday, May 25th. Today's hearing is being held pursuant to certain temporary amendments to the open meeting law. That is what allows us to meet virtually. Today's hearing is being recorded and will be posted to the City of Boston's website. Before I review some procedural matters, I will introduce Chairwoman Kathleen Joyce.
Good afternoon. My name is Kathleen Joyce. I'm chair of the licensing board, and today I'm joined by Commissioner Liam Curran and Commissioner Kiana Saxon.
Thank you. As a reminder, again, please mute yourself unless you're presenting. Please also take this time to check that your video is functioning. You will be required to be sworn in on video. I will call each item into the record, after which I will ask who is present on behalf of the licensee, then who's present on behalf of the Boston Police Department, and then whether there are any other individuals with personal knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify. I will then swear all parties in. The police report will be read into the record. Again, please mute yourselves. After the police report is read into the record, the licensee will have the opportunity to make a statement, followed by questions from the chairwoman and commissioners. Item 1 has been rescheduled. Calling Cardona's Inc., doing business as Barney's Grill, located at 299 Haver Street, East Boston. The date of the incident is April 11th, 2021. Over posted capacity in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.03J, 1.06A, and F. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Gilderoy Cardona. Good afternoon, Madam Magistrate and Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Cardona. Who will be testifying on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Sergeant James DeFeo, ma'am.
Thank you, Sergeant. Are there any other individuals with personal knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify?
No, ma'am.
If you could both raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Sergeant, please proceed with the police report.
Ma'am, my apologies. My VPN is not working. I cannot access my shared drive. If Sergeant Gallagher may have a copy of that.
Just one moment. Lieutenant.
Lieutenant, I have a copy of the report if necessary.
Lieutenant, let me just swear you in. Could you please raise your... You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please proceed with the police report.
About 12:54 on Sunday, April 11, 2021, officers assigned to District 7, in addition to Sergeant DeFeo, responded to Barney's Bar and Grill at 299 Harvard Street, East Boston, for a radio call where the caller stated there were people fighting in front of the establishment. On arrival, Sergeant DeFeo observed the Gold 101, a two-man unit, engaged with two unidentified males near the parking lot attached to 290 Harvard Street, East Boston. The officers were continuing a threshold inquiry and had the situation under control. Sergeant DeFeo also noted 6 people, 4 male, 2 female, exiting through the front door of Barney's Bar and Grill. Recognizing the establishment was open for business, Sergeant DeFeo entered through the front door of the bar with the intent of discussing the situation with the person in charge of the establishment. Sergeant DeFeo was immediately greeted by Kinder Cardona, who identified himself as the establishment owner. Sergeant DeFeo then stated that he would be conducting a Code 35 licensed premise inspection as a result of the 911 call under investigation. Mr. Cardona provided the required licenses, which were prominently displayed in a frame at the end of the service bar. Sergeant DeFeo noted that the licenses were in proper order, but the overall occupancy of the establishment seemed in excess of the allowable maximum occupancy of 62 persons. Sergeant DeFeo then made a physical count of the patrons and employees, which totaled 83 people. Sergeant DeFeo then instructed Mr. Cardona to clear the establishment of patrons based on excessive occupancy and to comply with the established hours of operation. Mr. Cardona was informed that a code 35 notice will be completed and forwarded to the appropriate persons. Code 35 citation 022801 was completed and the licensee and mailed to Barney's Bar and Grill at East Boston, care of Mr. Cardona. That's the extent of the police report.
Lieutenant. Sergeant, do you have anything else to add?
No, ma'am, other than I was the author of that report.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cardona, would you like to make a statement addressing the alleged incident?
That particular night, we somehow, it was like one of the very first nice days of the springtime, and there was a few soccer games in all other places in East Boston, and towards the last hour, we had a rush of people, and I can only blame myself for not counting heads, as we say, basically, and kind of lost track of it. And that's what happened. And as far as the incident outside, we don't have any windows. We have a black metal door. I wasn't aware of anything going outside out of the parking lot. And when Sergeant came in, he informed me there was people arguing outside. Other than that, if there was a few more people than allowed, like I said, I'll take the blame. I lost track. In order to take care of the situation, I hired someone for the door now on to count whoever is inside and whoever goes outside. And there's nothing else I could say. I mean, the sergeant's right. I mean, keeping count is 8. The staff is made up out of 8 people, 2 cooks, 2 bartenders, 3 waitresses, and me.
Thank you, sir. Chairwoman Joyce?
Thank you. What are the hours of operation of this establishment?
It's everybody out by 1:30.
Okay. So this was April 11th. Sergeant, you said when you walked inside, the actual count you got was 85?
Not including staff, yes, no.
Okay, so what was the, were they sitting at tables and chairs? I'm just confused how they could have actually been over capacity on April 11th. At the time, we're still under the COVID emergency. You would have had to have people socially tables 6 feet apart. I don't know if this is a question for the sergeant or.
That's the point, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
We were still under COVID regulations. The tables not being fully versed on all of the intricacies of COVID, except for the fact that there are, heightened requirements to have tables spaced apart, standing restrictions, etc. So it was obvious that there was a violation on that aspect, but I was sticking primarily with the licensing issues, that he was definitely he was clearly over occupancy for a non-COVID night. So if he was over occupancy for a non-COVID situation, he was most definitely over on a COVID situation.
Okay, thank you very much for explaining that for the record. Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon, do you have any questions?
None, thank you.
Sergeant, I just want to confirm, I just got the sense that there were patrons standing. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, thank you very much. The board will take this matter under advisement. Calling City Tap House 4 Point LLC, doing business as City Tap House, located at 10 Boston Wharf Road. The date of the incident is April 9th, 2021. Persons under 21 in possession of alcohol in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Sections 34A, 34C, 64 to 64A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee? Is there anyone present on behalf of City Tap House?
Yes, Kurt Cleary, the general manager at City Tap House.
Thank you. Who will be testifying on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I will be.
Could Kurt turn his camera on, please?
I just did. I think it's on.
It might be on your second screen.
I did try to log in under my cell phone and my laptop, so
I can see Kurt. Can anyone else see Kurt?
I
I
can,
can see it.
Okay.
No.
Are there any other individuals who wish to testify regarding this incident who have personal knowledge?
Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, if need be.
Thank you, Sergeant. Could all parties please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I
I
do.
do.
I do.
Thank you. Detective, please proceed with the police report.
Good morning. On Friday, April 9, 2021, at about 11:10 p.m., Sergeant Detective William Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez assigned to the licensed premise unit were performing checks with bars and restaurants during the COVID-19 emergency. While walking to the city tap located at 10 Boston Wharf Road, detectives observed 5 patrons drinking alcoholic beverages. Detectives noticed that these patrons appeared young. Detectives asked them to produce identification to confirm their ages. 4 out of the 5 patrons stated they were 21 years of age and provided detectives with driver's licenses. Detectives used a license verification program which confirmed that the provided driver's licenses were fraudulent. The fraudulent driver's license contained the individual's correct name, but displayed a date of birth which made it appear as though they were over 21 years of age. The fraudulent driver's licenses were confiscated by detectives. At this point, the patrons immediately stated they were under 21 years of age. Upon further investigation, the patrons provided their real driver's licenses. The driver's licenses confirmed the identities of Isabella Sullivan, Nahima Berry, Audrey Morgan, and Victoria Miller. All 4 patrons will be summoned to court for persons under 21 in possession of alcohol and fraudulent identification. The 5th patron, Gabriella Duncan, will be summoned to court for person under 21 possession of alcohol. It should be noted that the server was questioned about asking the patrons for identification. The server explained that he did not ask the patrons for identification. Detectives brought this to the attention of the person in charge, Mr. Kurt Cleary. As a result of what detectives observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice 048105. Persons under 21 in possession of alcohol on premise. Mr. Cleary signed for and accepted notice. That is all, and I have the 4 confiscated driver's licenses right here.
Thank you, Detective. Mr. Cleary, would you like to make a statement to the board?
No, I mean that's pretty much what happened. Is this my time to kind of talk about what we did to what we're doing to prevent it, or is it?
Yes. Please go ahead if you would like to explain any changes, and then we'll turn to questions from the chairwoman and commissioners.
Okay. So yes, what Detective just stated was how it went down that night. I think with the COVID regulations and things like that, we kind of got away from the basics, which are, very basics of carding people with, at the table. Prior to COVID, we had security at the door. We had a door guy that would be taking care of that typically. And, we typically didn't have or don't have a younger crowd. So college kids really haven't been an issue for us. And fake IDs really haven't been an issue for us really prior to now. But, we rehired our security door guy for Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, retrained the staff. We had a big staff meeting the following Monday, reiterated the importance of IDing everybody. We got a ID book with all the IDs in it, although they're getting better nowadays. So I don't know if that book will help us catch the fakes, but we got that. We're doing staff training, and every day during our pre-shift meetings, it's always brought up to make sure we're carding everybody. And if you don't have an ID, you're not getting any alcoholic drinks here. Our door guy also uses the Verify ID. I can't think of the name. It escapes me today, but an app that scans the IDs, so we can use that at the front on the weekends.
Thank you. Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I just want to, your statement's a little confusing. You're saying you're relying on the book, but then you realize it may not be that reliable, but the person at the front door is using a scanner. So how are you identifying people?
Oh, no, sorry. I
Whether
mean,
or
the
not
book,
they're.
I got the book for staff to kind of look over and read through the bullet points of how to catch the fakes and things like that. But as far as actual scanning the IDs, that's just for the door guy on the weekends. And the book is, for
Okay.
reference as well.
And what time do you start IDing people at the door on weekends?
We don't have a set time because we don't go 21 plus, but usually around 6 or 7 o'clock, he'll ID people. And, we'll still let underage people in, but it'll be known to the staff if they're underage with, if it's family, usually it's not an issue, but if it's, a few kids that are over 21, a few kids that are under 21, it's known to the staff. But other than that, he'll take care of the IDs after pretty much 6 o'clock, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But again, we tell the staff not to rely on the door. We still tell the staff to card everybody as well, just because it's not.
So is the staff also using a scanner?
The staff is not.
Okay, my problem with what you're talking about is that you're IDing people from 6 o'clock on at the door, but you testify that you allow people under 21 in. And then you have the servers rely on the door people, but there could be a disconnect there. The person taking the order may assume that everyone at the table has been properly ID'd as being over 21. So
I might have misspoke. I
think everyone at the
I said
table
that they
their
aren't.
ID as well.
I meant to say they aren't relying on the door guy. They still card everybody as well, but we have the door guy up front as well. More of a standard practice type thing, but it's always a secondary for the staff because they don't know when the door guy's always there, if it's busy, things like that. But
so
we
if you have a table of 6
sure.
people that come over and there's 4 people, let's say there's 6 people that come in at their door in one table, 4 of them are over 21, 2 are not. Does someone tell the server these 2 people are not 21?
Yeah, if it's before, if it's after the door guy's there, the door guy lets the server know, the hosts know, but their staff should be carding the table.
Okay.
The door guys.
I just want to remind everyone who's on the hearing today, as we are approaching reopening, the basic practices of and the responsibilities that come along with your license are still in place. COVID is not an excuse. Reopening is not an excuse. So you'll have to button this all up.
Oh, absolutely.
I have no other questions. Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon?
Just to really drill the idea of a mixed crowd, you really need to be cognizant and aware of pass-offs, because we've seen lots of events or incidences where a person who is 21, who has been carded, maybe they were carded at the door and by the server, they still will pass the drink off to the person who is not 21. So just to keep an eye out for that.
Thank you. Commissioner Curran, did you have any questions or comments?
No, just a second. What the other commissioner said, I agree.
Thank you very much. The board will take this matter under advisement. Calling Pagliuca's Restaurant, Inc., doing business as Pagliuca's Restaurant, located at 14 Parmenter Street. The date of the incident is April 10th, 2021. Person under 21 in possession of alcohol on premise in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Sections 34A, 34C, 64 to 64A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
This is Joe from Pagliuca Restaurant.
Joe, if you could please turn your camera on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. 1 second.
Okay. 1 second.
Who is going to be testifying on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Sergeant Detective William Gallagher.
Thank you, Sergeant. And are there
Dr. Hernandez.
One in the kitchen, outside.
Mr. Pagliuca?
Did we lose him?
Sir, can you hear me? Okay, we'll move to the next item while he works on establishing his video connection. Calling Moogie's Sandwich Shop, Inc., doing business as Moogie's, located at 154 Chestnut Hill Avenue, Brighton. The date of the incident was April 16th, 2021. Patrons under 21 with alcohol in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Sections 34A, 34C, and 64 to 64A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Schaefer.
I'm sorry, if you could please state your name again.
Scott Schaefer, Shaffer.
Thank you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective Hernandez.
And are there any other individuals with personal knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify regarding this matter?
Sergeant Detective Gallagher, if need be.
Thank you, Sergeant. Could all parties please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Detective Hernandez, please proceed with the police report.
Good morning. I'll be reading again from a police report, which I authored on Friday, April 16, 2021 at about 10:42 p.m. Sergeant Detective Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to the licensed premise unit, were performing checks at the bars and restaurants during the COVID-19 emergency. While walking up to Moogie's, located at 154 Chestnut Street, detectives heard a very loud music coming from inside the establishment and noticed that the lights were dimmed. As detectives tried to enter the premise, they discovered that the front door was locked. Detectives were able to get the attention of an employee who stated they were having a private party in the back. Once inside the establishment, detectives observed a large group of patrons standing, drinking alcohol, and walking around without any face coverings on. Detectives also noticed that the staff was also walking around without any face coverings. Detectives were attempting to make their way into the rear room. Someone in the crowd yelled, "The police are here," and a majority of the patrons ran out of the rear emergency door exit. Two patrons, later identified as Joe Greco and Jessica Rosenblatt, were stopped by detectives as they tried to leave. Detectives noticed that these patrons appeared young and asked them to produce identification to confirm their ages. The patrons immediately stated they were under 21 years of age. The patrons then produced fraudulent Connecticut driver's licenses that contained their correct name but displayed a date of birth which made it appear as though they were over 21 years of age. Detectives used a license verification program which confirmed that the driver's licenses were indeed fraudulent. The fraudulent driver's licenses were confiscated by detectives. Third patron left her cell phone and jacket on the table as she ran out. Detectives were able to identify the owner of the cell phone by a valid Connecticut driver's license, Ms. Teresa Marciano. Detectives also confiscated her fraudulent Connecticut driver's license, which was also in her name. Detectives reiterated the importance of the governor's COVID guidelines of the Boston Licensing Board advisory on the current prohibition of these activities. Detectives brought this to the attention of the person in charge, Mr. Scott Schaefer. Mr. Schaefer stated to Sergeant Detective William Gallagher that they do not believe in face coverings and did not wear any. Mr. Greco and Ms. Rosenblatt will be summoned to court for persons under one possession of alcohol and possession of fraudulent identification. Ms. Marciano will be summoned to the court for possession of fraudulent identification. As a result of what detectives observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued licenses premise inspection notice 005491. The notice was for failure to adhere to the governor's COVID guidelines and Boston's licensing board advisory of patrons and employees walking around without face coverings, no social distancing, and patrons under 21 in possession of alcohol. Mr. Schaefer signed for and accepted the notice. That is essentially all the effects.
Thank you, Detective. And for the record, the COVID-19 violations were addressed with an indefinite suspension that was served and subsequently was lifted. Mr. Schaefer, would you like to make a statement to the board regarding the alleged incident?
Well, I first want to thank the detectives for being very respectful and talking with us. And also you, Leslie, for being very kind and helping us through a very difficult time. So as far as the IDs go, we did scan the IDs with the detectives there, and they scanned properly, and they had backup. The detectives were, we did sit down, and they were telling us other ways that we can find these IDs to be fraudulent. And I talked to Henry Wilson at IntelliCheck, But they unfortunately don't have a program for something as small as us. They're for larger venues and things like that. What we're doing to try to stop any of this, the fraudulent ideas from getting through, is we're requiring that first we ask if they're students, and if they don't have their student identification, they can't drink there. And the only reason for that is because they don't want to put their student IDs along with their fraudulent IDs, knowing that it could jeopardize their school. That's the best way we've found to keep this from happening again. We've been in business for 25 years. We have no citations, violations, or incidents in the last 25 years. You know, when the pandemic hit, Moogie's offered any customer who came in a free peanut butter, banana, honey, and salt toasted sandwich for free, because that's the kind of place we are. You know, people are having a hard time. So anyone we had it in the window who requested it, we did it. We also had 3 cases of toilet paper. I don't know what that is. We also, it's not on me right now.
You're okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We also were able to order 3 cases of toilet paper, and any customer who came in who needed toilet paper, we gave them that free of charge without a problem. We've been in business in that neighborhood for a very long time, and the neighborhood is like our family. I mean, we grew up with them. It's been 25 years. I was 25 when I started this. I'm 50 now. We take this very seriously. We're not trying to serve minors, and we hope that you'll understand that, you know, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that that doesn't happen again. If there's anything else I can say, I don't know.
Chairwoman Joyce, do you have questions for the licensee?
I do, and I apologize if my Wi-Fi is not working well today, but on my end, the entire screen is freezing. However, I do have a couple questions. So is your testimony that you don't have an electronic scanner for these IDs because you're too small of an operation?
No, we have an electronic scanner. We actually scanned the IDs with the detectives there, and they all scanned properly.
Okay.
They scanned their
Sergeant
age.
and Detective Fernandez, is that true?
He does have a scanner. It was not, all the IDs that he scanned did scan as true IDs. But I was there a couple of years ago with maybe Detective McDonald or Sergeant Detective Mulvey, and it looks like the same scanner that might have been in place at that time. And it needs to be upgraded because the IDs are better than his scanner.
He's right.
Yeah, I think that's the issue, sir. Your scanner is not sophisticated enough to find these fake IDs.
You're right. We're looking for a company that has something that is sophisticated enough. We were working with BCS ID scanner. It's an app, but it uses the same technology that our scanner uses. That's why when they told us about IntelliCheck, I called them. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I can hear you. Yep.
I called IntelliCheck to see if we could do something with them, because they're the ones with the actual technology to see past these fake IDs, but they don't have anything for us as far as how small we are.
What do you mean? I mean, it's expensive?
Yeah, they don't have a program for us. So what he said was they could charge us by the scan, and by the scan it was almost $1.50 to $2 a scan for each ID. And I was like, they don't have anything set up for something our size. So they do venues and large stadiums and things like that. So he was trying to find something that would work for us, but he wasn't able to. And so I'm looking for a company that with the same technology that the detectives had. And I'm still looking, because everything I've been finding has the same technology that our ID scanner already has.
All right, so this was April 16th. I think you should continue to look. I'm, as chair of the board, I'm very concerned that you don't have anything that can pick up fake IDs and you are directly across the street from a college?
Yeah, well, there's only this, as far as the detectives and I know, there's only one company that actually has the technology to see these IDs.
I just
and that
don't
was
think you're, I don't
Intellicheck.
think you're in a unique situation. I don't think you're in a unique situation. You might have to rethink your business plan if you can't afford to scan the IDs at your premise. So you're testifying that you ask every single person that comes in for their college ID.
We ask them if they're students.
Do you work with Boston? Do you work closely with Boston College? Or do you work with them at all?
I don't, no, not really, no. Not that I,
Okay, so if you find a fake ID of a Boston College student, do you notify the school?
well,
I'm just wondering what your
haven't-
business operations are like.
we haven't had that happen yet, because every time we ask them for their college ID, they'll decline. They'll say, you know, no, I don't have my ID.
And then you turn them away?
Yes.
For the record, these IDs are going to contain their name, their correct name. So that college ID, asking them for the college ID is just going to confirm that the fake ID is the same name on their college ID.
Yeah, this is not a good business practice. I think you need to get together with your brother and your business partner and figure out what will work. It's raising a lot of red flags for me, that you're relying on what you already know to be a scanner that doesn't pick up college IDs.
Well, that's why we
I know
asked for
you're
the backup.
researching that, but you might need to do a little bit more research and accelerate that research so that you have proper scanner for underage. And you testified you didn't have any violations in the last 25 years. I don't know about that, but I'm looking at your docket sheet in front of me, and I might disagree with that, but that's not before us today. So I'm putting the responsibility on you to find a way to, I know that you're saying they don't make scanners for operations your size. I think you're choosing not to invest in it.
Oh, no, we're asking all the other bars
There's
and
a difference.
places around what they're doing. We're trying to find the best possible solution. Trust me, we were looking. I talked to detectives for, a good 10 minutes about what would be the best thing to do. And,
Yeah.
trying to do the best we can. We really are.
Okay. Commissioner Curran, do you have any questions?
Yes, for either Detective Hernandez or Sergeant Gallagher. It's been my impression from many previous hearings that this technology that you've deployed is readily available and easy to use. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
And
it's an app, sir.
Affordable?
Yeah, it's an app that you can get. I think it's a monthly charge, I believe.
Okay, so I'm completely at a loss. What's going on here?
I can explain. I talked to Henry Wilson. He's their sales department. I asked him if we would be able to use their scanning equipment, and he basically said we don't really use smaller venues. We don't do this for smaller venues. We'd have to charge you by the scan. And he's like, so they came up with a price, and they were saying for each scan it would be around $1.50. So every time you scan someone's ID, it would be around $1.50. And if you went over the number of scans per year, which was only 500, but if you went over 500, then you would be charged the accelerated rate. And it just seemed like he was really very helpful, but he was saying that we don't have anything right now set up for a small business like yours.
I just don't buy it. I just don't buy it.
It's Henry Wilson. That's who I was talking to.
Yeah, why don't you email the board that information? I just don't buy that a bar in a college town can't, their business operation doesn't fit into a up-to-date scanner. It's just unfathomable to me. So either you're not telling us you haven't done enough research, or you're not giving us the whole story.
I'm absolutely open to suggestions.
But that's not our job to do. That's not our job to do your research for you. It's not our job to do research for you.
Okay.
Good. I'm glad.
Commissioner Curran or Commissioner
Saxon?
Yeah, I encourage you to do the research, and if you have the book that has the that explains what these fake IDs are looking like, you know, there are other things that you can do in the meantime while you are looking for a scanner that works for you.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I mean, okay, we're good.
Thank you very much. The board will take this matter under advisement. Returning to item,
Hey, just wanted to let you guys know that Joe Paluca, his phone was kind of acting up. We were having technical difficulties, but we're back again, just so you know, there's no mix up or anything.
I will call this item again right now.
Oh, okay, you were about to.
Okay. I'm sorry, apologize.
No worries, calling Pagliuca.
Hey.
The incident has
Hi,
been,
Mr. Gallagher.
incident has been read into the record. Could all parties please raise your right hand? Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Yes. I do.
Thank you. Sergeant, please proceed with the police report.
Yes, good afternoon. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, Boston Police, Licensed Premise Unit. I'll be reading from a Boston Police incident report. Was authored by my partner, Detective Eddie Hernandez. On Saturday, April 10th, 2021, 9:35 p.m., Sergeant Detective Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to Licensed Premise Unit, were performing checks of the bars and restaurants during the COVID-19 emergency. While walking by Pagliuca's restaurant located at 14 Parmenter Street, detectives observed 5 patrons later identified as Brian Fogarty, Emma Freelander, Julie Boniface, Ann Boniface, and Megan Boniface drinking alcoholic beverages. Detectives noted these patrons appeared young. Detectives asked them to produce identification to confirm their ages. Patrons immediately stated that they were 21 years of age and provided driver's licenses to detectives. One patron, Miss Megan Boniface, produced a fraudulent Michigan driver's license that contained her correct name and displayed a date of birth which made it appear as though she was over 21. Detectives used a license verification program which confirmed that the driver's license was indeed fraudulent. Fraudulent driver's license was confiscated by detectives. Ms. Megan Boniface will be summoned into court for being a person under 21, possession of alcohol, and possession of a fraudulent ID. It should be noted that Miss Anna Boniface stated that she was Miss Megan Boniface's sister and will be summoned into court for procuring alcohol for a person under 21. Detectives brought this to the attention of the person in charge, Mr. Giuseppe Pagliuca. As a result, what detectives had observed, Sergeant Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice number 048107. Person under 21, possession of alcohol on premise. Mr. Pagliuca signed for and accepted the notice.
Thank you very much. Mr. Pagliuca, would you make a statement to the board regarding the alleged incident?
What is it again? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Would you like to explain what happened that day?
Yes, it was Saturday night. We're a little busy over here, this and that, and we're doing everything by the code and everything, 6 feet apart, no more than 6 people and everything. And it was a party of 5. And the waitress went over before I cut everybody. She showed a fake ID, and we didn't know. So now I told my staff, I reported them. I want to cut everybody. I mean, we've been in business over 40 years. We never had any problem. This is our first, and I would like to keep just the first. Thanks.
Thank you. Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions for the licensee?
I don't at this point. Commissioner Curran?
No.
Commissioner Saxon?
Sorry. Do you have a plan going forward? What are you going to do?
Excuse me?
Do you have a plan going forward to identify IDs?
Oh, yes. Our plan is to, I already talked to all my staff. We had a meeting, and I'm going to cut everybody. And we're gonna try to be careful, like more or less, if we have like, suspicious, we're not gonna serve nothing. I mean, what else can we do? I mean, we caught them, you know what I mean? And our plan is to see, like, in other words, a little younger, just not serve. If I'm suspicious, I see a person that's a little minor and everything, we're just gonna say no. I'd rather lose, than get into trouble,
Thank you very much. The board will take this matter under advisement. Calling LCY Inc., doing business as Jade Garden Restaurant located at 18 to 20 Tyler Street. The date of the incident is April 18th, 2021. Failure to adhere to the governor's COVID guidelines, tables of more than 6 patrons. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Hi.
Please state your name for the record.
And the owner, Yuka.
Could you please state your names?
My name is Peter Cow. And his name is Yuka.
Okay, maybe move a little bit closer to your computer. We're having trouble hearing you.
Yes, my name is Yuka, and the owner is Peter Cow.
Okay, great. Thank you. And who will be testifying on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I will be.
Detective Hernandez, are there any other individuals with personal knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify?
Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, if need be.
Thank you, Sergeant. Could all parties please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Detective, please proceed with the police report.
Okay, on Sunday, April 18, 2021, at about 10:17 p.m., Sergeant Detective Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to the licensed premise unit, were performing checks of the bars and restaurants in the COVID-19 emergency. While walking into Jade Garden Restaurant located at 1820 Tyler Street, detectives noticed 2 tables with more than 7 patrons sitting together. Detectives reiterated the importance of the governor's and Boston Licensing Board advisory on the prohibition of more than 6 patrons sitting together. Detectives brought this to the attention of the person charged, Mr. Simon Chu. Mr. Chu stated he would bring the premise into compliance. As a result, what detectives observed, Sergeant Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice 048156 for failure to adhere to the governor's and Boston Licensing Board advisory on the prohibition of more than 6 persons sitting together. Mr. Chu signed for and accepted the notice.
Mr. Chu, would you like to explain to the board what happened that night?
Hi.
Could you please explain to the board what happened that night?
Okay. So during the pandemic, we follow the guideline very well. We always have 6 feet apart under the table. And we only down to, from the whole restaurant, we're down to 6.5 table for customers. And at that night, one of my staff's friends came over to have to eat, and my staff basically let a guy down, and she sat down with the customers and have a chat. And it was a very bad timing that Detective Hernandez and Sergeant spoke to them, my staff, during this pandemic, we are not able to do the standard business practice that we used to do, able to sit down with your friends, and even though you're working, that cannot have a conversation with them, sit down and have a conversation with them.
Okay, thank you. Sir, you just cut out a little bit, so I just want to be clear. Your testimony was that a staff member sat down with patrons who were friends.
Yes.
Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions for the licensee?
I don't. Thank you.
Commissioner Kern or Commissioner Saxon, do you have any questions?
None, thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. The board will take this matter under advisement.
Great. Thank you very much.
Calling LCT Fort Point LLC, doing business as Lolita Cocina and Tequila Bar, located at 253 Summer Street. The date of the incident is April 24th, 2021. Persons under 21 in possession of alcohol on premise in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 34. Who is present on behalf of the licensee? Is there anyone present on behalf of Lolita?
Yep, Mark Malatesta is here.
Thank you. Who will be testifying on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Katie, do you have this? I do not have this.
I have it.
Detective Hernandez will be
I will
testifying.
be.
Are there any other individuals with personal knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify?
Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, if need be.
Thank you, Sergeant. Could all parties please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Detective Hernandez, please proceed with the police report.
Okay, on Saturday, April 24th, 2021, at about 11:10 p.m., Sergeant Detective Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez signed to the licensed premise and were conducting checks of bars and restaurants in the COVID-19 emergency. While walking into Goleta, located at 253 Summer Street, detectives observed 4 patrons drinking alcoholic beverages. Detectives noticed that these patrons appeared young, and detectives asked them to produce identification to confirm their ages. All 4 patrons stated they were 21 years of age and provided detectives with driver's licenses. Detectives used the license verification program, which confirmed that the provided driver's licenses were fraudulent. Fraudulent driver's license contained the individual's correct name, but the date of birth, which would appear as though they were over 21 years of age. The fraudulent driver's license was confiscated by detectives. At this point, the patrons immediately stated they were under 21 years of age. Upon further investigation, the patrons provided their real driver's licenses. These licenses confirmed the identity of Trisha Matre, Mia Rapala, Melanie Weiss, and Kelsey Martin. All 4 patrons were summoned into court for possession. Persons under 21, possession of alcohol, and fraudulent identification. Detectives brought this to the attention of the person in charge, Mr. Brendan Fitzpatrick. As a result, what detectives observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued a license premise inspection notice 0481169 for persons under 21 in possession of alcohol on premise. Mr. Fitzpatrick signed for and accepted the notice. So,
Thank you, Detective. Mr. Malatesta, would you like to address the board?
Sure. I think it's kind of a common thread here that we're all seeing a lot of fake IDs across the city, much more than normal. And all of us collectively are doing the best we can to keep up with it. And I will tell you a little bit about what we were doing as a group, specifically at this restaurant and amongst our others. One thing we were doing is we have a text chain between the general managers. So when someone does come in and we do find their fake IDs, which is incredibly often at this point, we're taking as many as 20 IDs a weekend night and then kicking that table out. So we're doing that, and we're immediately notifying the other GMs in case they go to another restaurant, because we found that being a trend as well, where they're just going to another place and using another ID because they're buying these things on the internet by the 10-pack. That way, if they do show up there, they're not allowed in. In addition to that, we are, obviously taking phone numbers for everybody in the party for the reservations. We are making a notation in their reservation profile, which goes across all of our restaurants, to then ban this person because they have brought a fake ID. That has seemed to slow things down a good bit. With the scanning situation, one thing we're getting now too is a lot of these IDs do scan well, even though they might look fake. So we're calling, the guest out and saying, listen, this is a fake ID. And their first response to us is, why don't you scan it? It scans. And Detective Gallagher and I did talk about that a little bit. It's getting really difficult for us to do, to police this with the sophistication of these IDs. Let's see. I believe that the manager did show our stack for the week of the IDs that we had to the detectives when they were in there. I think it was probably like 80 or 100 IDs already for that week. Some other stuff that we've done, we didn't bring back a male host who's an ID expert. He's been training all of our staff across all of our restaurants, again, on what to see, what to look for, in addition to just the normal stuff that we do go over.
Okay, thank you. Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions for the licensee?
Yeah. On this night, did they scan the IDs?
These were not scanned. No.
Physically ID them. Do what?
Just physically ID'd.
Okay. So what's your practice now? Are you scanning them, or are you just physically IDing them?
We are physically IDing everybody. There is an ID app that has been discussed. I guess it's the Age ID app. Our team has attempted to get that to work. Unfortunately, every time we go to download it, it says it will email you next steps, and several people in our group, including our director of operations, are unable to get those verifications. So I'm not sure where the disconnect is with them, but you know, as far as relying on a scanning IDs, I'd rather rely on our team and the education of actual ID, verification visually, because I don't want them to just take an ID and start scanning. I think better to see the IDs, and they're honestly, if you're looking for them, they're not good, but it's just so many a night that it's easier and I think more effective to do it that way.
Okay, Commissioner Curran, Commissioner Saxon.
Question for anybody, what state were these IDs from?
Yeah, that's them, I believe.
Second, sir. California, Connecticut, Colorado, and Maine. And if you're just relying on visually inspecting these IDs, it's not going to work.
Aren't there like a series of questions that you can ask these patrons that, like, that can trip them up? Detective Gallagher and Hernandez, who talked about like asking them the year that they're born, or something else that has to change on the fake ID that the patron hasn't memorized, and it kind of trips them up a little.
They use all
the zip code.
Yeah, maybe there's something like that. Yeah.
A lot of times they use all the correct identifiers, even the address and everything is still the same as a regular ID. They're using their name. The only thing they change is their date of birth.
And we have increased our training on this significantly since this incident, because it certainly didn't get any better since then. If anything, it got worse. And it's just now, I feel like, getting a bit better now that they know they're not going to be able to come in and get past our team. Literally 3 weeks ago, we had to kick out 8 tables in a row from the same seat because they just came in and they're fake ID, fake ID, fake ID, fake ID, fake ID. So I'm not sure where they're getting all these, but it's really difficult to police it.
They obviously feel if you're a place you can go to, though. Don't you think that's a problem if you've got that many tables coming at you with fake IDs?
No, honestly, we're really kicking that many people out and banning them from all of our restaurants. So I think they have nowhere else. I don't know if there's nowhere else to go. They want to be there because it's lively. I'm not sure, but we're not allowing it. We're doing everything in our power to keep them out.
Thank you very much. The board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you.
Calling SZA LLC, doing business as Shabu Zen, located at 78 to 80 Brighton Avenue in Alston. The date of the incident is April 23rd, 2021. Persons under 21 in possession of alcohol on premise in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 34. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good afternoon, Attorney Joshua Spurn for the establishment. With me is Simon, who's in the middle screen.
And Simon, what is your last name?
Chu, H-I-U.
And you are with the licensee?
Yes.
Who will be testifying on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I will.
On behalf of the Boston Police Department.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Eddie has this, I believe.
Yeah, I'll testify on that one too.
And the last one.
Detective Hernandez. Are there any other individuals with personal knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify?
Sergeant Detective Gallagher, if need be.
Thank you. Would all parties please raise your right hand? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Detective Gallagher, please proceed with the police report.
Detective Hernandez.
I'll take care of this one. On Friday, April 23rd of 2021 at about 11:25 p.m., Sergeant Detective William Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez assigned to licensed premise unit were performing checks of the bars and restaurants in the COVID-19 emerging. While walking into Shabu Zen located at 70-80 Brighton Ave, detectives observed 4 patrons drinking alcoholic beverages. Detectives noticed that these patrons appeared young, and detectives asked them to produce identification to confirm their ages. The 4 patrons stated they were over 21 years of age and provided detectives with driver's licenses. The detectives used a license verification program, which confirmed that they provided driver's licenses were fraudulent. The fraudulent driver's license contained the individual's correct name, but displayed a date of birth, which made it appear as though they were over 21 years of age. The fraudulent driver's licenses were confiscated by detectives. At this point, the patrons immediately stated they were under 21 years of age. Further investigation revealed the patrons further investigation, the patrons did provide their real driver's licenses. These licenses confirmed the identities of Lillian Yeager, Astrid Andino, Kathy Andino, and Clayton Atkinson. All four patrons will be summoned to court for persons under 21 in possession of alcohol and possession of fraudulent identification. Detectives brought this to the attention of the person in charge, Miss Yan Mi. As a result of what detectives observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection 048163 for persons under 21 in possession of alcohol on premise. Miss May signed for and accepted the notice. I do have the that was a Texas driver's license, 2 Texas and 2 Massachusetts fraudulent driver's license here. They'll be confiscated that night.
Thank you very much. Attorney Stern, would you like to make a statement on behalf of the licensee?
Yes, thank you. So this incident that night was the first incident that they've had with this type of fake or fraudulent license. They did talk to the detectives that night about what measures they could do to prevent this from happening in the future. They did, and I did send an email to the licensing at boston.gov account just with a copy of the ID scanner that the establishment has bought since then. They did buy an ID scanner. They do now scan licenses for anybody who appears to be under 40. They did also train the staff on this, as well as the identification of fraudulent licenses. This is a restaurant, not a bar like some of the other hearings you've already had today. So they did go over it with the staff. They did put this now in place with the ID scanner at the suggestion of the police, in addition to now checking and scanning every license under the age of 40.
Thank you. Chairwoman Joyce?
Thank you. We'll make sure we find that email. Commissioner Curran, Commissioner Saxon.
No questions, thank you.
No, thank you.
Sorry. Also, we do also have a video if you guys want to see it, that shows that they did check the IDs of the 4 people there. If that's in question at all.
Sure, that would be very persuasive. We would like to forward that to the board.
Okay. Is it the same licensing at boston.gov email?
Yes, please.
Okay. I will send that to.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. The board will take this matter under advisement. For Deep Ellum Inc., doing business as Lone Star Taco Bar, located at 477 Cambridge Street in Alston. The date of the incident is April 23rd, 2021. Persons under 21 in violation, in possession of alcohol in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 34. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good afternoon, Stephen Miller, McDermott, Quilty and Miller. I believe also, unless they just lost, I saw them on. Are you here? Adam Sanders and Caitlin Belanger, who was the manager that night. And Adam Sanders is one of the owners of the. I see Caitlin. I'm sorry, and there's Aaron. Okay, I lost them. So they're also available. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Aaron Saunders, and what was the second name?
Caitlin Belanger.
Great, thank you. Who will be testifying on behalf of the Boston Police Department? Detective Hernandez? Are there any other individuals with personal knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify? If you could all please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes. Thank you. Detective Hernandez, please proceed with the police report.
Okay, on Friday, April 23rd, 2021, at about 10:30 p.m., Sergeant Detective Gallagher and Detective Hernandez assigned to the licensed premise unit were performing checks in the bars and restaurants during the COVID-19 emergency. While walking to Deep Ellum, located at 477 Cambridge Street, the detectives observed 3 out of 5 patrons drinking alcoholic beverages. Detectives noticed that these patrons appeared young, and detectives asked them to produce identification to confirm their ages. 3 out of the 5 patrons stated they were 21 years of age and provided detectives with driver's licenses. The detectives used the license verification program which confirmed that the provided driver's licenses were fraudulent. The fraudulent driver's licenses contained the individual's correct name, but displayed a date of birth, which made it appear as though they were over 21 years of age. The fraudulent driver's licenses were confiscated by detectives. At this point, the patrons stated that they were under 21 years of age. Upon further investigation, patrons provided their real driver's licenses. These licenses confirm the identities of Jenna Hanrock, Caroline Sprinkle, and Nikki Patel. All three patrons will be summoned to court for persons under 21 in possession of alcohol and possession of fraudulent identification. Detective brought this to the attention of the person in charge, Miss Kesselyn Bellinger. As a result of what detectives observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice 048161 for persons under 21 in possession, 21 years old in possession of alcohol on premise. Ms. Bellinger signed for and accepted the notice. And then I have the one Massachusetts, one Rhode Island, and one Michigan driver's license, which we confiscated.
Thank you, Detective Hernandez. Attorney Miller, would you like to make a statement to the board?
Detective Hernandez, did the staff and Ms. Belanger cooperate with you?
Yes, very well.
And how did you verify that these were fraudulent IDs?
We have a app, a license verification app on our phone that we use to scan the barcode that lets us know whether the license is indeed fraudulent or not. And they both came back fraudulent right away.
Is that the IntelliCheck HID app?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So, Madam Chair, members, Mr. Sanders this group has owned this restaurant for 14 years. They've never had a violation for underage in all those years. After this incident, and talking to the detectives who were very helpful, the sergeant, detective, and Detective Hernandez, they were able to secure the HID IntelliCheck app, which they are using at both their locations now. And they did a full training, obviously, with all the staff on how to use the app and work with it, and not only just scanning, but also looking at the patron and making sure that it's that patron's app. Pre-COVID, there were all these places had doormen. These days, with the much less crowds, they don't have the doormen. So having this app is really helpful. So as I said, they've never had an issue before. After 14 years, they've had this one instance. As you've heard and you hear every week, these fraudulent licenses are, I would say, almost impeccable. And it took this incident with the help of the detectives to figure out to get this app so it wouldn't happen again. If you have questions, both Aaron and Casey are there to answer any of your questions.
Thank you, Chairwoman Joyce.
Thank you, Attorney Miller. So is your testimony today that they are now using the IntelliCheck ID app and they are going to be physically IDing, checking the IDs as well?
Yes. Besides scanning, I mean, they need to look at the app and look at the ID to make sure it's actually that person's ID. It could be a valid license, but it could be may not be theirs. So they've gone through that training with their staff.
Okay. And this doesn't go to the violation at hand, but could you or your client tell the board how much they're paying to have this app? And is it are they scanning it and getting charged per ID? We had some testimony earlier today that it wasn't made for a small restaurant. Not going back to that thing. I'm just curious from my own knowledge how this operation is able to.
Aaron, you want to respond to that?
Yes, no problem. So for both our restaurants, it's $1,050 quarterly, so $350 a month for 2 restaurants. Covers 9,000 scans, so it's 12 cents a scan. And any scans over 9,000 are 15 cents. So that's the deal that we ended up finagling with the company.
Could you say that one more time for me?
Yeah, yes,
It's
ma'am. So for
$350 a month.
2 restaurants, we have one in Alston and one in Cambridge. It's $1,050 quarterly, so it's $350 a month, and that covers 9,000 scans, which averages out to 12 cents a scan. And any scans over 9,000 are 15 cents. This isn't their regular pricing. We haggled them quite a bit to get the best pricing. So it's going to vary for each person that would call.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon, do you have questions?
No questions, thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. The board will take this matter under advisement. Those are all the items.
Very much. Thank you.
And if I could ask the chairwoman and the licensed premise unit to remain on, thank you everyone else for attending. All right. So you're muted, Sarge.
That was interesting that what Lone Star had to say. We did not know that that was the case for the IDs, that they charge like that. We were told for us it's just a flat rate, but we might be different under a government.
I think they give us a law enforcement rate, which is a little bit cheaper, but still, it wasn't what the other guy said.
No, we paid per device yearly.
Yeah,
So
it's an app.
we have three devices, and we paid for the 3 accounts. Well, in essence, 1 account, but 3 users. You know,
The guy can afford to pay for it.
He told me that night that he didn't want to pay for it. That was his big issue. This is even before he even looked at it. It's too expensive, and the same machine he's probably had since 1999.
We don't even know what it actually reads.
Yeah, we don't know. But an interesting note, when we went into Lone Star to serve the notice of the hearing, they had something else there. And the manager brought us over. We brought over a stack of IDs, and every ID that scanned came back as good. And we looked at her and we scanned them on our phones, and they came back no good. So they had something else, and it sounds like they got rid of it.
Yeah, they realized right away that wasn't working either, because we were able to get all our fake IDs through that, free app that they were using.
And that was Lone Star. So
they must have decided to go to the Age ID.
You must have called Moogie.
Poor guy, he's doing so much research. Can't figure it out.
Oh, I don't think he's doing that much
And
research.
then the guy from Lolita saying that he couldn't get a hold of anybody. I'm like, all you gotta do is call the guy. You just have to call the 1-800 number. It's really not that hard.
No.
But he's relying on just IDing them. So I was like, good luck with that. Just looking at them is not gonna work for everybody.
He mentioned something to me that he's waiting for the licensing board to tell him to go out and get one.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't think they're gonna tell you, but it's up to you.
Yeah, there's something else.
I think that's the guy who told us tonight we were there that doesn't matter. Nothing's gonna happen to us. That guy was the one who told us that night.
Then we walked over and we found somebody else there, right in front of him.
Yeah, they're a unique group over there.
But they were taking them. They were taking them. When we found those 4 girls that Eddie just talked about, we went in there to serve them notice of the hearing, and the manager pulled out some IDs. So they are actively trying to do it. And if the word gets out that they're checking IDs like that, this problem should kind of dissipate a little bit.
Yeah,
I just turned my camera off because my Wi-Fi stinks in the office.
That's okay.
So Kathleen and I haven't gotten to connect, but I know Sarge, you flagged it, but I talked to the captain. He called this morning as well, just to go over what they are doing this weekend and what they're not. Obviously, they're not going to be, the pre-COVID theater district plan will not be in place. He said that he's got 3 extra 2 officer cars and a supervisor. That are going to be there. They won't be able to do the usual shut down the street, direct traffic, disperse the crowd. He had asked and put together a draft email. He had asked that we target an email specifically to the theater district about the fact that in addition to all of the things they need to adhere to, that they need to, on their own, ensure that they have the security to support their capacity. Right. And because so many people are saying they're having trouble getting employees back, and that if they can't have that staffing on duty, then it's up to them to determine whether or not they need to reduce their capacity. But we'll also be highlighting the fact that it is the licensee's responsibility to call the police if there's an incident. Calling the police doesn't get you a hearing before the board. Everything is evaluated, but failure to call the police will absolutely be written up. So we're going to put together something draft. We'll send something to all licensees, but then we'll also send something to the theater district specifically on this.
Good. The dispersal is going to be an issue too. Once the patrons are outside, a lot of these places kind of think that it's on us to get rid of them. And especially as the weather gets better, working down there for years, that people kind of hang around, and the longer they hang around, the more the problems start.
Yeah,
you're going to be able to drive right to the front door of the place now, where last year, 2 years ago, you couldn't.
That's a good point. We'll include that. I did think it was interesting. He said that Bijou still owes the police $85,000.
A lot of the places do. That was his big thing to me. That
That's a big thing, yeah.